Chapter 2. The Trial of the Otherworldly Knight. As the young man selected the knight class, a radiant light enveloped him, signifying his transformation. But just as the glow faded, his weapon vanished from his grasp, leaving him empty-handed and vulnerable. Confusion and panic welled up inside him, his mind racing with thoughts of how he would survive without the sword that had just saved his life. Before he could fully grasp the situation, another sword materialized before him. This new weapon was simpler and more basic in design compared to the mystical blade he had wielded earlier. Its plain hilt and unadorned blade seemed almost mundane, yet it felt solid and reliable in his hands. As he took in the appearance of the new sword, he suddenly felt a weight pressing down on him. Glancing down, he saw that he was now clad in armor, sturdy and functional, yet lacking the gleaming splendor he had imagined. The metal plates fit snugly around his body, offering protection but also limiting his movements slightly. He hadn't consciously equipped the armor. It had simply appeared, adding another layer of bewilderment to his already overwhelmed mind. At this point, the boy just gave up asking questions. The strange occurrences, the voice in his head, the inexplicable skills and transformations. None of it made sense, and trying to find logic in this surreal world seemed futile. He took a deep breath, accepting the bizarre reality that had been thrust upon him. With the simple sword in hand and the armor weighing on his shoulders, he steeled himself for whatever lay ahead, determined to navigate this enigmatic journey with the tools and abilities he had been given. With resolve hardening in his heart, he stepped forward into the darkness, ready to face the challenges that awaited him as the newly anointed knight. As the young man adjusted to his newfound armor and sword, the mysterious voice echoed in his mind once more, its tone cold and indifferent. Congratulations on choosing the knight. The basic knight skills will be granted to you. A wave of harsh, almost painful energy surged through him, embedding knowledge deep into his mind. His stance became more solid, his movements more instinctive, as if honed through countless brutal battles. He felt an innate understanding of how to move in his armor, defend himself, and strike with precision. It was as though these skills were carved into his very bones. The will of the knight, a passive ability, has been bestowed upon you. The voice continued, its words chilling. This will harden your resolve and enhance your endurance in battle. To gain additional skills, you must learn and master them through experience and survival. The boy felt a cold, steely determination settle within him, though his mind still buzzed with countless questions and fears. He took a deep breath, the weight of his new armor pressing down on him like an unrelenting burden. The oppressive atmosphere of the dungeon seemed to close in, the shadows whispering of dangers yet to come. With a sense of grim resolve, he took another step forward, ready to face the darkness that awaited. The path ahead was shrouded in mystery and peril, but he was determined to survive and uncover the truth in this unforgiving world. As the boy was adjusting to his new armor and abilities, a massive skeleton emerged from the shadows, towering over him. This monstrous figure was clad in broken, rusted armor that clanked ominously with each movement. In its bony grip, it wielded a giant sword forged from the very bones of its fallen enemies, the blade radiating a sinister, dark energy. The boy's heart pounded in his chest as he stared up at the skeletal behemoth, his mind racing. How could he possibly defeat such a formidable opponent? But the giant skeleton gave him no time to ponder or strategize. With a guttural, otherworldly roar, it lunged forward and swung its colossal bone sword with terrifying speed and force. Instinctively, the boy threw himself to the side, narrowly avoiding the deadly strike. The sword smashed into the ground where he had stood, sending shards of stone and dust flying into the air. He rolled to his feet, his mind sharpened by adrenaline and the survival instincts now deeply ingrained within him. Gritting his teeth, he tightened his grip on his sword, knowing that this battle would test every ounce of his newfound skills and resolve. The dungeon around him seemed to close in, the flickering candlelight casting grotesque shadows on the walls as the giant skeleton prepared for another devastating attack. The boy's body moved on its own, guided by an instinct he had yet to fully understand. Unlike before, He didn't resist the strange force but embraced it, allowing his actions to flow with a seamless precision that seemed beyond his own capabilities. The giant skeleton attacked mindlessly, its massive bone sword cleaving through the air with terrifying power. Yet, the boy's movements were fluid and agile, dodging each strike with a grace that belied his inexperience. He watched the monster's relentless onslaught, his mind focused and calm despite the chaos around him. As the battle continued, the boy began to synchronize with his body's actions, learning to anticipate the moves that seemed to come from some deeper, subconscious knowledge. The giant skeleton, though powerful, was predictable in its attacks, leaving itself exposed after each swing. In a decisive moment, his body prepared for an attack, and the boy consciously followed the direction it was taking. He felt the surge of strength and precision as he swung his sword with all his might. The blade arced through the air in a clean, powerful motion, slicing through the giant's neck. The skeletal behemoth's head toppled from its body, clattering to the ground with a bone-chilling thud. The boy stood amidst the falling debris, his breath ragged but his resolve unshaken. He had embraced the mysterious force guiding him and, in doing so, had slain the monstrous foe with a single, precise strike. As the dust settled, the boy realized that his journey through this dark, perilous world had only just begun. With the skills he had tapped into and the strength he was beginning to uncover, he knew he had the potential to face whatever lay ahead. As the giant skeleton's head hit the ground and its massive body crumbled into a heap of bones, the mysterious voice echoed in the boy's mind once more. Agility increased to 2. Stamina increased to 3. It announced, each word resonating with a sense of accomplishment and foreboding. The boy felt a surge of energy course through him, his muscles feeling more responsive and his breath coming more easily. The enhancements made him feel lighter, quicker, and more resilient, as if his very body was adapting to the trials he faced. Despite the lingering questions and the ever-present uncertainty, he stood taller, his grip on the sword firm. He had overcome another challenge, and with each victory, he grew stronger and more prepared for the dark path that lay ahead. The voice had granted him new strengths, but it was his determination and will that would carry him through the trials to come. Before the boy could fully process the voice's announcement and the surge of newfound strength, the oppressive silence of the dungeon was shattered once more. From the shadows, 2 more giant skeletons emerged, each one clad in tattered armor and wielding massive bone swords. Their hollow eye sockets glowed with an eerie, malevolent light as they advanced towards him. His heart pounded in his chest, but there was no time for fear or hesitation. The boy tightened his grip on his sword, feeling the weight of the weapon and the reassuring presence of his newfound skills. His body tensed, ready to react as the skeletal giants closed in on him, their heavy footsteps echoing through the stone corridor. The first skeleton swung its massive sword in a wide arc, aiming to crush him with a single blow. The boy's enhanced agility kicked in, and he deftly dodged to the side, the bone sword smashing into the ground and sending up a spray of stone fragments. The second skeleton attacked immediately after, its blade descending in a vertical strike. The boy rolled forward, narrowly avoiding the deadly edge, and came up on his feet in a fluid motion. His mind was a whirlwind of instincts and strategies, but he knew he had to stay focused and let his newfound abilities guide him. With both skeletons momentarily off balance from their missed strikes, the boy saw an opening. He lunged at the first skeleton, his sword slashing with a precise and powerful stroke that cut through its knee joint, sending the massive creature toppling to the ground. But before he could finish off the fallen giant, the second skeleton was upon him. He twisted out of the way just in time, feeling the rush of air as the bone sword sliced past him. Determined and fueled by the voice's enhancements, he pressed the attack, moving with a speed and precision that seemed almost supernatural. As the second skeleton swung again, the boy ducked under the blow and thrust his sword upward, piercing through the ribcage and into the spine. The skeleton shuddered and collapsed into a heap of bones, its malevolent glow fading. Turning quickly, the boy faced the first skeleton, now struggling to rise. With a swift, decisive motion, he beheaded the creature, the clean strike sending its skull rolling across the dungeon floor. Panting heavily, he stood amidst the remains of his foes, his heart racing and his mind filled with a mix of exhaustion and triumph. The darkness of the dungeon pressed in around him, but he knew he had grown stronger once more. The relentless battle continued. Each time the boy thought he might have a moment to catch his breath, more giant skeletons emerged from the shadows. He fought fiercely, his movements becoming more fluid and his strikes more precise with each encounter. By the time he had felled at least 20 of the monstrous foes, he was beyond exhausted. His body ached with fatigue, every muscle screaming for rest. Sweat poured down his face, and his breath came in ragged gasps. Despite the sheer exhaustion, he couldn't help but notice the changes within him. His strength had increased to 6, his agility to 6, his stamina to 8, and his sword mastery to 4. He had grown considerably stronger, but now he was too tired to continue fighting. As he stood amidst the piles of shattered bones, the mysterious voice echoed in his mind once more. Congratulations on finishing the trial. As a reward, you may choose a subclass: Holy Knight, Demonic Knight, Dragon Knight, or Otherworldly Knight. The boy's mind raced, even as his body begged for rest. Each subclass name resonated with different promises of power and destiny. He took a deep breath, trying to clear his mind and focus on the choice before him. As the boy's hand hovered over the icons representing the 4 subclasses, a faint, ethereal glow began to emanate from each one. The dungeon's dim light seemed to fade as the icons shimmered with an otherworldly brilliance, casting dancing shadows across the stone walls. The icon of the Holy Knight pulsed with a pure, radiant light, its glow imbued with a sense of divine purpose and unwavering resolve. It spoke of righteousness and valor, promising the strength to stand against the darkness and protect those in need. The Demonic Knight's icon flickered with a dark, sinister energy, its glow tinged with shades of red and black. It whispered of power born from the depths of darkness, of ambition unbound and the mastery of forbidden arts. The Dragon Knight's icon shimmered with an intense, fiery light, its glow reminiscent of molten lava and smoldering embers. It hinted at ancient wisdom and draconic might, offering the power to command flames and soar with the fury of a dragon's breath. And the icon of the Otherworldly Knight glowed with a mysterious, enigmatic aura, its light shifting and changing like shadows dancing in the moonlight. It spoke of secrets veiled in darkness, of unseen forces and arcane mysteries waiting to be uncovered. The boy's heart pounded in his chest as he gazed upon the 4 icons, each one calling to a different aspect of his being. With a sense of both trepidation and anticipation, he knew that his choice would mark the next step in his journey, shaping his destiny in ways he could scarcely imagine. As the boy's hand reached out to touch the icon of the Dragon Knight, a surge of anticipation coursed through him. The promise of ancient wisdom and draconic might seemed like the safest choice amidst the other options. Yet, as his fingertips made contact with the glowing emblem, a sudden jolt of energy shot through him, and the icon vanished before his eyes. Confusion clouded his mind as he withdrew his hand, staring at the empty space where the Dragon Knight icon had been. Had he made a mistake? Was the path of the Dragon Knight not meant for him after all? But as he looked up, he saw that the other icons remained, still pulsing with their respective energies. The choices were still before him, waiting to be made. With a sense of determination, he turned his gaze to the remaining icons, ready to make his decision and embrace whatever fate awaited him. With a growing sense of unease, the boy tentatively reached out towards the icon representing the Holy Knight. As his fingers brushed against the glowing emblem, a surge of anticipation gripped him once more. Yet, to his dismay, the icon vanished in a flash of light, leaving him staring at another empty space. Frustration gnawed at him as he withdrew his hand, his mind racing with questions and doubts. Why were the paths he sought disappearing before his eyes? Was he unworthy of their power, or was there something else at play? As the boy weighed his remaining options, a sense of unease settled over him. The path of the Otherworldly Knight seemed shrouded in mystery, its allure both captivating and unsettling. Yet, despite his reservations, It appeared safer than the ominous path of the demonic night. With a mixture of apprehension and curiosity, the boy reached out towards the icon representing the otherworldly night. As his fingertips made contact with the glowing emblem, a wave of energy washed over him, enveloping him in an otherworldly glow. The icon pulsed with a strange, ethereal light, its brilliance illuminating the darkness of the dungeon. A sense of acceptance washed over the boy as the mysterious voice spoke once more. "Congratulations on choosing the otherworldly night. You may now leave the dungeon." Relief flooded through him as he realized that his trial was finally at an end. With a newfound sense of purpose, he turned away from the icons and began to make his way towards the exit of the dungeon. Though the mysteries of the otherworldly night still lingered in his mind, he knew that his journey was only just beginning. As the realization dawned upon him that there was no exit door in sight, panic once again gripped the boy's heart. His mind raced with fear and uncertainty, his thoughts spiraling into a whirlwind of desperation. How would he escape this forsaken dungeon? Was he doomed to wander its shadowy corridors for eternity? Just as despair threatened to consume him, the mysterious voice echoed once more in his mind, its tone calm yet enigmatic. "You can use otherworldly key," it murmured, its words stirring a flicker of hope within him. "The otherworldly what?" the boy muttered to himself, his voice trembling with uncertainty. But even as the words left his lips, a strange sensation coursed through his veins, as if some dormant power within him had been awakened. And then, as if in response to his newfound understanding, a door materialized before him, its surface shimmering with an otherworldly glow. The boy stared at the door in astonishment, hardly daring to believe that his escape was at hand. With a surge of determination, he stepped forward and pushed open the door, the light of a new dawn beckoning him towards the unknown. As he crossed the threshold and stepped out into the world beyond, he knew that his journey as the otherworldly knight had only just begun.